we'd like to welcome you to the regular board meeting of Nicholas County Board of Education, Monday, November 20th, 2023. At this time, if you'll stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, number 3, approval of the agenda. Do we need to have anything struck or anything?
We do have some strikes. If you will look under extracurricular, employment in the position of assistant boys basketball coach, we need to strike that one. And then we will also strike employment in the position of assistant cheerleading coach. We'll strike that one. Hopefully we'll be able to fill those on the 4th.
Okay. And so, by the way, for the folks that are watching, this is our assistant superintendent, Kelly Weitzel, and she's also our personnel director, sitting in for Mr. Beam tonight. All right, number 4, approval of minutes of the meetings held on November 6th and November 14th. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meetings held on November 6th and November 14th, 2023?
So moved.
Mr. Moose makes a motion, seconded by?
Second.
Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Number 5, superintendent's information, updates.
You have this month the school board reports. And you'll get those the second board meeting of every month. And it's just information on the academics, attendance, discipline, so that you're kept up to date and informed. I would also like to read a statement. Senator, I emailed our senators and our representatives at Washington, D.C. to see if they could contribute to the Richwood Marching Band going to D.C. And Senator Capito did get back with me, and she is contributing $1,000. So the excitement for the Capitol Christmas tree from West Virginia has reached D.C. I am so happy that the Richwood Lumberjack Marching Band will play part in the celebration. I am happy to contribute to the efforts of getting the band to the national capital. So we're very excited that she was able to provide a donation. And on to some other good news. We had a call today with Dave Ferguson from ZMM to set the planning dates for the elementary and the middle school Glade Creek schools. And I have a copy of those for you so that you can mark your calendars. And but it'll be November the 29th at 2 o'clock for the elementary and at 3 o'clock for the middle school here at the Nicholas County Board of Education office. December 4th at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. December 11th at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. December 18th at 2 o'clock and at 3 o'clock. And Mr. Ferguson will provide an update for the board on 1/4/24 and the finalized floor plan to the board for approval on 1/22/24. We've asked the principals to invite faculty senate presidents, LSIC presidents, principals, also central office personnel as their schedules will allow, and board members as your schedules will allow. This is a pretty aggressive schedule to try to get things completed in December, but we really want to take away any barriers that will allow us to keep moving on this project. So, exciting times and events happening. And that is all that I have under superintendent's updates, other than the state board did vote and the SBA did vote to approve the updated CEFP. So, and everything was submitted last Monday to FEMA to get their approval. So everything is submitted that can be submitted at this time, and now it's just a wait and see game.
The only concern that came up at all was one of the state board members asked Mr. Beam about the footprint of the pad, and he told them that our architects was going to design that school so it fit the site that we have that's ready, and not have to make a bunch of changes on it. That was the only question. Other than that, it was unanimous, and SBA met like an hour later and approved it, so we're well underway. Okay, any delegations?
No, sir.
Thank you. Action items. Discussion with possible action on identifying and selecting a nonprofit or governmental organization to transfer control of the Richwood Commemorative Park or the walking trail.
So, in doing a little research, as per the requirements of a memorandum of agreement concerning the Cherry River project, the board is required to identify a nonprofit or governmental organization of which it intends to transfer control of the Richwood Commemorative Park.
And from my understanding, we just have to figure out someone to name. They don't have to take control over it at this point, and we don't have to release it at this point. But we do have to name it.
That's correct.
So, what's your thoughts?
So we have to name somebody tonight.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
name them. And then we can reach out after that.
I think we're actually late on naming.
I think it should have been.
We should have already taken care of it, but anyway.
Well, basically, we'll still be maintaining that, won't we? Because we'll be taking care of everything around it. So, I mean, this just includes the walking trail itself, correct?
The commemorative park.
They consider that whole area the park, where the schools were taken down. It's the whole property.
Has there been anybody from Richwood, nonprofit from Richwood, expressed any interest in it?
I've talked to the Cherry River Foundation. They was interested in it, but those had some questions and everything too. I talked to Mayor Richwood too, and he kind of pushed it back to the Board of Education that we needed to keep it.
Well, like I said, just because we name somebody doesn't mean that
They have to take
they have to take it.
Well, then I
But we
recommend
do.
the city of Richwood. I mean, that's who I would recommend.
Any other suggestions?
Then we can go back and they don't want it. And check with Foundation again. Fire department, there's only 3.
The fire department, they talked to me and they were interested. And I'm not sure why, but the fire department was interested in it. So,
I guess some of the churches or something could take it over.
It has to be a nonprofit or governmental.
Richard has a building authority, don't they, like some of them? Richard has a building authority? I'm almost sure they do. City of Richwood has a building authority. Need somebody to check with, but City of Richwood, like, I'm fine with that.
Park
We can go
board.
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a park board and building authority, I know that handles some stuff.
well, do you want to put that in the motion?
I'll make a motion.
That we name City of Ridgewood? Okay. Do you have a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Action item B, discussion with possible action on the gross settlement offer in the amount of $21,117 from the government entity claims against Altria, which is the Jewel. Now, out of that 21,117, that doesn't mean we'll get that if you read.
Right.
I mean, they got to take their lawyer fees and all that out of there, so.
But your other option is not to do it, and gives you the right to sue them yourself and stuff, and you don't have the legal resources to do that. I mean, it's my experience with those things.
Well, you've already entered into an agreement to participate in the lawsuit. This is just the settlement.
Right,
What it was agreed, what was negotiated settlement.
right.
And that they strongly recommended that if you read your, so, I mean, it's money we weren't expecting to have, so even if it's half of what it says.
I think it was 5% and then a 2% was the negotiated.
Commissions or fees.
Mhm.
That usually comes to about 35% or more by the time all the extras are added on, I think. But still some money.
Right. Well, we didn't have to spend any money to get that money, so. So do we have a motion to approve the settlement of $21,117 from the government entity claims against Altria?
I so move.
Mr. Moose makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Consent items, finance.
Okay, the first item that we have is payment of current invoices. I didn't have to walk anything in this evening, so everything that needs to be approved is in your packet.
Anything on payment of current invoices?
Okay, if not, the next item is supplements and transfers.
Oh,
Just one real quick, as SQP, it says July and August. Do we have other?
SQP, they were kind of behind on submitting some of the other things that they had to submit in order to be approved. So, yeah, there are, we've paid out payouts 1, 2, and 3 to them. So this one is payout number 6. So we owe them 4 or 5 and now 6. We will owe them, we'll pay them as soon as we get the reimbursement. So we're not behind on that. That was them being behind on some paperwork.
Yeah, okay, but they're getting caught up, right?
Yes.
Okay, supplements and transfers.
Supplements and transfers. I know those are sometimes kind of hard to follow. Nothing out of the ordinary, just some basic, this backpack program, through the food program. Another food service grant there, some special ed funds. A renewal of our McKinney-Vento for this year. And our Save the Children, which we've had in years past also. Are there any questions about any of those things?
I'm good.
The next item is a contract from Ridgewood High School for the DJ for their prom.
Just explain to me a little bit how that works, just, again, being a non-educator. Is there certain money allocated from the board for extracurriculars like this, or is this something that they raise and handle themselves and the board signs off on, or?
I think all their money covers their prom and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, usually the schools raise those
Yeah,
funds.
right.
We just okay it, basically.
Yeah, they might have some other. So, yeah, so whenever they are going to do anything like this and they're going to have an agreement, then we take that to the board to approve because they can't sign an agreement with us.
But we don't, as a board, you don't give each of the schools X amount of dollars in budgets to spend. They basically raise for these type of extracurricular
Right,
activities.
for proms and things like that, right. We do have some levy money for educational enhancements, which would be things like Math Field Day, literature fairs and things like that. So we use that money to help with those educational things, but not for prom.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then the next item is the treasurer's report. Our first treasurer's report, since we had financial statements finished and were able to put in our carryover amounts. So this is for the month of October. So we're, at this point, we're about 4 months into our year. I don't really see anything that's terribly out of whack. When you look at expenditures, you'll see there's a column that says encumbrances, including remaining payroll. So that's taking into consideration what it would cost to get us all the way through the end of the school year with personnel.
tax collections, are they pretty well coming in like they thought they would?
Yeah, the tax collections are pretty good.
Will those go up now that the pipelines are back in action?
Possibly. I'm not real sure about that.
I
Ernie
think-
usually talks to us in the spring about what's going on with tax collections, so we'll see what kind of update he has.
Yeah, I think once that gas starts flowing through the lines, then that's when the county, the state get money, right?
Well, there might be some increased
Equipment.
tax collections from their equipment that they have
Equipment
on
sale,
site, yeah.
yeah.
And workers that are locally. I received a call last week about somebody that was going to be here after Thanksgiving break, and they were going to enroll their 2 children in the school system while they're working here. They're coming from Louisiana.
Yeah, we had several
For
a couple of years ago.
So I said, you'll get to experience some snow, hopefully. That's something that they don't typically experience.
We hope not, but they probably will.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Kristen?
If not, some out-of-state travel requests. First one being the band going to Washington DC at the end of the month. And that lists the chaperones and how many students are participating. And I don't have an update, I wish I did, about how much money had been raised so far by the band boosters for that.
My understanding, they have all their money.
Yeah, they hit their goal.
Great, that's wonderful.
It's my understanding the county commission put in 5,000 and private business matched that. That put them over the top.
I think we got into the Nichols County band also.
Oh, the county can, they do what they want.
Nichols County.
Next out-of-state travel request is VOTEC, a teacher going to a vet science competition in Morgantown. And Julia Duffield, the principal at Mount Lookout, going to a National Administrators Conference to be paid for federal funds. And our TISs, it looks like, going to a Pennsylvania Educational Technology Expo, also funded with federal funds.
Incidentally, speaking of the band, they did lose a member, Gavin Lloyd. So we might want to mention that.
His service is going to be what, Wednesday at noon?
What?
His service is going to be Wednesday at noon, I think.
Right.
22nd.
Yeah, there was a memorial service
Last night.
last night.
Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with the family and the school family.
Sure.
And I know Mr. Williams talked to the principal to see if they needed extra counselors for support.
The last consent item is an out-of-county student transfer, 10th grade from Webster to Nichols County High School.
you need any chaperones to go to Hershey, I'll volunteer.
Anything, anybody? Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept consent items, finance 1, 2, 3, 4, out-of-state travel request 1, 2, 3, 4, and the out-of-county student transfer request 1?
Make that motion.
Mr. Berry makes a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, good. Personnel.
The only additional name that we have that we were not able to get on the agenda is the employment in the position of long-term sub for bus route 146, effective November the 27th through April 1st. And that should be 2024, not used to putting 2024 on something yet. And that's Barry Mullins.
So, this is going to open up the principal's
It
job?
will, yes,
Okay.
yes. And at a couple board meetings back, we employed some substitute administrators. And we've been in contact with one to work a couple days next week and then fill in until we can hire a replacement.
When will that be posted?
Well, it'll actually go up tomorrow, but I can't count this week because we're not in session. So I put it up through, I believe, the 15th, some extra days, longer than just the 5 typical days that we would put something up. And then we'll do interviews and hopefully hire on the 18th of December. Yes.
Any,
Were these other two employees in the system?
No, they were not. They were out.
They're outside of it?
Mhm. Yes.
Is this a new position?
Yes, it's the community and schools that we talked about earlier in the year. It's grant funded through the state, and we were the 54th county that's participating in community and schools. And it's going to be at Panther, Richwood Middle, and Richwood High School. There are 3 positions, and they had to be feeder schools.
So those are full-time positions
Full-time.
in each?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
so, these 3 that we're hiring, have you figured out who's at what school?
The principals and Mr. Williams sat down and they figured that out. They're posted itinerant because there may be meetings or
Right.
events that they will need to work together at one school, but they have determined.
Okay, just wondering. Okay, anything else on personnel?
I would just like to add that we did substitute service a little bit differently this month. In the past, we put the posting up and then, let people know we put the posting up. And then on the posting, it had the date that the service personnel test would be. And on that day, we would have very few people actually show up. So what we did this month is we put it out there what day we were doing the testing on. And then we had the custodian test at 9, the aides test at 10, 11, and the cooks test at 11 and the aides test at 2. And then after they finished the test, we had them go on Frontline and apply. And we were very successful. As you can see how many aides we were able to hire. So we're going to do that same system again this month, but we're only going to do it for custodians and cooks because we have enough aides right now that we should be able to cover all of the positions. And then we do have some retirements. And then the unpaid leave request, she's actually going to be doing her student teaching. So, and I need to make a correction, that should be December 4th. We were working with her college and the State Department to make sure we had all of the paperwork for her to be able to do it. And when the paperwork from the college came, it was December 4th. And we'll put a long-term sub up to cover that while she's out. And I also, one other note, employed as a substitute bus operator. We were going to be severely short last week on covering all of the bus routes. So John David Hannah, you'll see the effective date, it's December 13th.
He's just retired, right? Is he retired?
No, he just
In
finished.
the new one?
Yes.
Okay.
He was eligible, and we were going to have him on this agenda regardless, but we couldn't cover the bus routes, so.
Do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Green makes a motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Berry, seconded right before you.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. I'll go get better here.
Well, he's closer to me, so maybe, but anyway, second by Mr. Berry. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
What was the date now, December the what?
For Hannah.
No, it was November
November.
13th.
13th, I thought you said.
No,
We're going to be short on bus
We're going to be
drivers.
short on bus drivers. So I just wanted to point out that it was an earlier before.
Oh, okay, so it's still November 13th.
Yes, it was, but I just wanted to point that out because usually it's after the board meeting, but in this case it was before the board meeting. And then the other one I did change was this one.
Yeah, the 4th.
Okay, reports. Mr. Ferguson, SESC.
Yes, the Southern Educational Service Cooperative did meet last Wednesday. Superintendent Beam attended in person and I attended virtually. There was a lot of discussion early about the use of artificial intelligence or AI regarding the public education system. Nothing really came out of the discussion other than to start planting the seed that how we can use that in the education system. There was a lot of discussion on the dental insurance. That's been an ongoing thing for the last 3 or 4 months that I've been on. And if you're interested in scheduling a meeting, if the board is interested in scheduling a meeting with, it's Bento, B-E-N-T-O, and USI, those meetings will start the week of November the 27th. They can come in and talk to you about their dental program. There's a lot of discussion. I think Terrence is going to maybe have people come and talk about the discussion on the sports media rights and the opportunities to monetize the broadcasting rights of the school system. And basically what they're saying is, I've noticed about the Southern Educational Service Cooperative, which is good, but they try to monetize about everything or try to get money and back to the boards. But basically, the sports systems, they're going to come in, they can show you how to team up with your radio or the broadcasting, and they feel that the school systems should be getting money for them because they're making money off that product. I think Terrence talked like he was going to have somebody come in and talk to the worry about that. There was a discussion, a lengthy discussion, and I would like to make a few comments on it. There was a lengthy discussion on the state auditor's report on the misappropriation of funds, the misconceptions, along with miscommunication in the legislative agenda and the report in general. The 12 counties decided basically somebody was going to write a press release, and I think it's still in being formatted. If you all haven't seen it, it's come out. And the guy did a very good job. But I would make this following comment. It says the counties of the SESC are concerned that the audit leaves the impression that the funds were misused, misappropriated, or used inappropriately. The counties of the SEC, the 12 counties, reject any such impression and unequivocally state that among our counties, the funds were used to benefit students, comply with the stated purpose for the funding, and were properly appropriated. I went in and did some research, and I might have missed some of it, but on Nicholas County, under the state auditor's report, it looked like there was a $7,678, and it was for a private school reimbursement. And basically, they just had that categorized, so that it wasn't acceptable for the type of funds they were doing. There was a $19,916 for iPads, accessories, sleeves, and hand sanitizer. And what the report basically said was we went through an unapproved appropriations of the state. And what the consensus of the counties are that during COVID, that was a very, very trying period to try to figure out whether somebody was a state-approved vendor when you needed those type of products was very difficult. So there wasn't anything malicious or misappropriation or anything concerning those funds. There was one little one, but the vendor was not registered is what they found. There was a $220 Walmart gift card for attendance incentives that they felt that wasn't appropriate under the thing. So if I read it right, they sampled $1.2 million of invoice sampled for Nicholas County, and basically came up with $7,000 that, again, no misappropriation. It's just it didn't follow the guidelines, and it needs to be pointed out that each county in the system got approval from the State Board of Education how to spend the funds prior to us spending the funds. But now they're coming back and saying it's kind of chicken and egg. They're coming back with processes and procedures you should have followed, but they weren't in place. So I just want the public to understand and our board to understand my grasp of it, and they are going to try to draft a letter, and it looks like it was going to be approved. I know Terrence thought they did a great job on it, on his response. Kristen, would you like to add anything at all to that? Is that a fair summary of?
Yes.
I don't think I missed anything, did I?
No, I think that's a very fair summary. The $7,000 that was paid to a private school, what happened there was we had to use some of our money to help the private school, and all we were supposed to do was buy things on their behalf, but in that case we reimbursed them for something that they bought, and that's what they didn't like. They wanted us to buy that for them rather than reimbursing them for that. So that was the problem with that one. And then the $19,000 for the unapproved vendors, that wasn't an actual finding within our report that we had to do anything to correct. But yeah, that is something I think that's been in place for a really long time, but it just hasn't been enforced. And that is that we have to do business with all vendors that are registered through the Secretary of State as a business in West Virginia.
But the school board in general, which you can understand, the county school board, are a little bit upset with how this is being portrayed. But they made it very clear, and I've read the report, and I think there is no misuse, misappropriators, or used inappropriate. It's basically a lot of paperwork, and some of it wasn't followed, and we've got to get better on that. and they're making guidelines on that. So it was very good discussion on that. I learned a lot on it, but I want to pass that on.
Our county was low on that list. There was some that was, quite
Well,
quite a bit.
Upshur County and Logan County, I think that the state boards actually took over because of this. If I read the report right, I think both Upshur and Logan, you're correct, we were low on the list, but they did name us in the report.
I think wasn't on 48 counties or something like that.
Yeah, out of the 55.
Yeah.
There was only 6 or 7 that wasn't named in the report. And you're right, Mr. President, it was a very, very low number compared to the other numbers I looked at as far as what they did. It was kind of interesting because I did get some calls from people as soon as that report came out. What about this, Mr. Brogan? And to be honest with you, I didn't know that much about it, but they gave a very good summary in the SCSC, and there was a lot of discussion on that. The last thing they talked about was the discussion on the ratio of administration and the number of students. This is something that's going to come up to the legislature. The legislature is looking at, they're trying to come up with some ratio. Again, the legislature seems to be, for lack of a better word, interested in our county board's top-heavy in administration, so they're trying to come out with some type of formula. Nothing's come out of that, but there was discussion on that, and basically that's my report.
All righty, thank you, sir.
And what's interesting, there currently is a PE and a PI ratio for our second month that we have to fall within.
Oh,
And we
really?
turn in our certified list. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Green, Bright Horizons.
I have nothing this time. We have a meeting on the 30th. We have to reschedule this.
Okay. Thank you. Items for future agendas.
We talked about having a work session on personnel and budgets, and we'd like to propose to do that on February 15th, 2024, starting at 2 o'clock at the Nicholas County CTE Center, because that evening, they're going to have, or that afternoon, they're going to have some student presentations. And we thought that would be a really good time. You could stay and you could see some students actually competing for the Skills USA competitions. So, and they will be happy to provide some appetizers through the culinary department.
Anything else for future agendas? If not, future meeting dates. Next regular meeting will be Monday, December 4th, here at the board office at 6 o'clock. And then we'll have one Monday, December 18th, here at the board office at 6 o'clock.
This sheet that you handed out, Kelly, does that have anything to do with board agendas or anything? I mean,
No.
this is just a voluntary
No.
thing for the board?
No.
Okay.
No, that's just a volunteer thing for the board.
To know what's-
To know what's going on and when they are going on, so that if it fits in anybody's schedule, you can see it and hear the process.
On the 18th.
That'll be their chance for
Yes.
input
Yes,
into
and-
the design of the,
yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have a board meeting that night, so,
Yeah, the floor plan would be good to get a lot of input on, because once, I think Chip was saying, and he's correct, it's really just the floor plan, then the architects have to go back and draw the plans to put out the bid. And there's a lot more detail to that we probably don't need to get into, but the floor plan itself or the basic layout and what it does, if you can get that approved, but then they're going to have some work to get it into a bid process. That really, I don't think you'll have a lot of input. There'll be, electrical drawings You know, that lighting thing that we attended, Rick and I attended.
Anybody else got the lighting? As y'all
Mr. Henshaw showed me.
got to see it. It's pretty nice. I like it. Saves money.
Saves a lot of money.
I think. So, a lot easier to work on.
Is that in the Ridgewood building?
Nichols County High School. I think we
They have a room set up there to look at.
Yeah, but this is very helpful. They did this when Ridgewood High School was built. They came around and asked us what we would like to have and where we would like to have it. Didn't mean we were going to get it all, but they followed our suggestions.
Well,
Interviewed everyone.
yeah, it's in December, so it's a wish list
Yeah.
For Christmas, right?
for Christmas, right? And then on January 4th, our first board meeting in '24, we'll have a report about all of these meetings. And then the 22nd, that's when we're going to have the finalized one. So, and then we'll have calendar hearings in January too for the 24-25 calendar, school calendar. We'll have public hearings. So a busy January.
Chip and Kelly, whoever the whole board, and again, I apologize because some of this stuff, I'm not exactly sure of the policies and procedures. But on future agendas or whatever, at some point in time, and if it doesn't have to be a formal meeting, I'd like for somebody to be able to explain, for lack of a better word, what our standards are as far as, are there state standards or Nicholas County board standards of how you promote or not promote, or what students may not get promoted because they didn't meet certain criteria or standards? Because it just seems like, looking at those state assessment scores and stuff, us compared to the state of West Virginia and the state of West Virginia compared to the nation, that there's just a lot of kids that's not at standard. It's more than 50% that just aren't at standard. So do those kids just move on to the next grade, or do they have to meet certain criteria to move on to that grade?
Well, you're kind of talking apples and oranges,
Okay.
for lack of better word. That general summative assessment is one point in time, one test in the spring that the students take. Their promotion is based on their performance every day in class all year long. So we use the state grading system that says 60% and above is passing. So if a student makes 60%, and we teach the state standards for all of our classes, so they're tested on those state standards, and if they are 60% or higher proficient, then they are promoted. Now, you also have to realize too, is if the majority of a class fail a test, well, then we have to look at the instrument and say, I must not have taught those standards in a way that they can understand. So then I can go back as a teacher and I can reteach that and then give that assessment again. So the students can have multiple opportunities to master those standards. Whereas on the GSA, they have one opportunity. And then, students with IEPs have accommodations on assessments that we give them too. So, yes, I agree, it should be close, but...
Well, some of the things I'm hearing from other teachers, not just from other public or whatever, is, and because they ask me, I'm on board, I'm sure y'all get some feedback and stuff too. The feedback I'm getting, I tell them, actually the infrastructure part's going to be the easy part. I know as hard as it's been and as much work as the previous board and you were on has done, the infrastructure part can get solved. It's a money thing and doing the standards, but this, getting these people back to speed due to COVID, which I buy into, I think. But still, you do have a standard that you're comparing your county to the rest of the state to the nation. And I don't have the answer, I'm just saying we have some work to do.
We do, and we need parents and students and teachers to be as proud of that one test that they take as they are of the report cards that come home. You know, it needs to be
I agree.
valued and placed on the refrigerator. You know, look at what little Kelly did on this assessment. And sometimes it's not always valued that highly. And we've talked different times about, you know, really skin in the game, because there's no accountability on the student side other than just the pride of doing a good job.
And I think that's what I was getting to. Skin in the game is if you don't meet certain standards, you don't progress. That's skin in the game.
I might date ourselves a little bit, but we used to have things called step tests. And they actually, more accountability when you had those than now. And then at the high school level, it typically goes on the number of credits you've earned in order to be at the...
I'm going to date myself. Is it just pastel now? You don't have valedictorians and salutatorians? You still get A, B, C, D
Well,
grades? Or
typically, third grade and up
get grades?
get grades, yes.
And, you know, and I taught elementary. Elementary kids are a whole lot easier to motivate or reward or, you know, encourage on those tests. When they get to middle school and high school, a lot of them, they're just there to see their friends. I mean...
Yeah, and I'm not judging, I'm certainly not judging
I
the
would
teachers
not
or
want to.
job or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just, I wish I had the answer, and I'm sure you all did too,
You know, if the state came out with the numbers and said, hey, you gotta have this number, you know, or you don't move on, then that's putting it on the kids more than the teacher, you know.
but, yeah, I think the legislature, you know, as they're doing all this other thing, I think that, you know, that needs to I understand Ohio has a certain type of standard system, but I don't know exactly what it's at.
And in order to graduate in Ohio, you have to pass a mastery test. But we can't wait till high school to get students to that level. And I agree with you, COVID did show a huge impact on our students, and it is going to take a little bit of time to recover. But we are using IXL, we're using the data to drive the instruction, to do the small group instruction so that we can recover some skill deficits. Because first thing you have to do is you have to identify the skill deficits so that you can recover them. And
You know what surprised me as much as anything, and Kristen probably has a different look on this doing the accounting or whatever, but surprised me if anything, there's money out there, and we're using a lot of that money through the federal programs and these interventions. It looks like the board and the education system is grabbing that. And I noticed our teacher ratio at Richwood Middle School was like 1 to 10. That's pretty good. I mean, there was 21 administration, I think, and 200 some kids. So that's about, you know, 1 to 10. Over here it's a little bit higher, and I always heard that teacher, the student ratio was higher important, and then the small groups are doing. All that just amazes me, which leads me to, if there's money there and you're doing all the right things, it comes back to what you said. We've got to get grandparents and parents engaged and some accountability for the students to have some skin in the game. I don't know, I'll leave that up to you all a little bit, but yeah, something's not right with that, and we've got to find a way to educate our citizenry. I mean, it holds you back in your jobs, your economic development. You know, we went to an economic development summit here not too far ago, and the big thing is we don't really have a workforce here. Everybody thinks we have a workforce here. We do not have a trained workforce here. And I still will go back to, and I know we can't do it right now, but I do think the previous administration was right about CTE. I think, if you could integrate that with your school system, I think that'd be a good thing. But I understood we just don't have the cost to do it there, but having it on the same campus at Richwood or whatever, and I realize you don't have to teach it, but if 50% of your kids aren't going on to college or whatever, that CTE program is important. I think, and it sounds like that, oh shoot, my mind always goes blank. Who's our principal? I know he's
Tom.
Tommy Bell.
Yeah, Bell's Tom. It sounds like he's doing an excellent job, and I think you're doing all the right things. I guess I'm just I'm very impatient. How do we get to the next step? How do we get to the next step? Because I'm not saying the infrastructure is behind us, but you all make great strides on it. And I tell people that.
Well, one of the things that we're going to meet in December with New River Community College is the associate programs that we're looking for next year are going to be based in the CTE programs.
And healthcare is a big provider, and I did talk to Lewis Road, the administrator at Summersville Regional, because we think there's some miscommunication. I talked to community college about getting Summersville Hospital involved in some of that, and they were a little concerned that it'd be a little competition, so I actually went back to WVU, and I guess they were talking about West Virginia Tech could possibly be, because they have similar programs. That's not what we're talking about. Lewis was going to get with Mrs. Copenhagen and to talk about, some of those things, but I don't know. I'm just talking out loud, but.
If you look at the NOCTI scores for the students that are in the CTE programs, they're actually really high because their scores directly relate to the performance in their class. And when students select to go to the CTE Center, they have selected the area of their passion and what they want to do. So if you would let us use the NOCTI scores as their summative assessment, and then do the SAT school day on the students that are planning on going to college, because that is their career choice, I think you would get a lot different of a result. But on the 15th, we are anxious to show you the Skills USA competition and some new equipment that is at the CTE Center that I am very impressed with. They have a table over there that if it doesn't amaze you, you can't be amazed. And 2 students were demonstrating it, and
My daughter's a graphic designer, and she went over there, and she said they have state-of-the-art graphic design equipment there. She said she was just amazed and how impressed. I guess Lindy Bailey was doing that program. They had somebody else doing that program right now. I won't take you more of your time, but that's what I see, and I tell people when they come and ask me, it's just like this state report coming out kind of leads you. Sometimes you just, it's about communication to our citizenry, but parent and grandparent engagement. The last example that I made as an entrepreneur or as a business person, I guess I am, is that when you go in to one McDonald's, I was big in franchises. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. That's how we grew. If I didn't know the business, I would pay for a franchise, and they always had standards. If you go to one McDonald's, it should be pretty much what you're going to know. Now, I had Choice Hotels, and quite frankly, they had standards too. Now, my Comfort Inn versus one in South Carolina, you might not get the same experience. I mean, good or bad or whatever, it wasn't. But the one thing I've noticed about the Nicholas County school system, I think they could do a little bit better on, and maybe, again, I don't like to throw stones to the background, I don't have this, but it seems like all the schools are run, and I can appreciate competition among the schools and the principals and stuff, but it's not that cookie cutter where you go into one school, you're going to get the same experience you're going to go into another school. You don't have that consistent standards or that are being applied. I know we probably have those standards, but if we could get them more consistently applied so that when I went into Richwood Middle School or went into another school, that there was some consistency among that. From an entrepreneur or business standpoint, and I know education's a little bit different than a normal business model, but, and I'm sure you probably have principals meetings where they discuss what they're doing, what's working, what's not working, da-da-da. But that's the only other thing that I noticed. So I guess we don't have to schedule a meeting for that discussion, because you just had it with me. Thank
But
you.
I would be happy to have a longer discussion at some point too, or bring in any additional information that you.
Yeah, and I just don't know the answer, because like I said, the money's there and everything, but, and you're trying to get all those programs, to get the parents engaged, and get them, and for them to understand they have a responsibility for those kids, not just the teachers have that responsibility, but parents have a responsibility for the education of their children. And somewhere along the line, something's just not jiving, it's just not happening.
I think one of the most important things is if we can get them to show up.
Yep, then
We've
Tim.
got to get them to show up.
Yeah,
Mr. President.
about all the schools show somewhere around 25% chronic absences. That probably dates back to COVID too.
And a lot of that,
It probably precipitated something.
you know, a lot of that's not parents, it's grandparents, aunts and uncles,
Oh, I know.
and whoever else they're living with. So we all know it's a big problem.
I was amazed at what they consider homeless, the
Right.
number of homeless here in Nicholas County. I was amazed when I got into some of that.
You also
That's
have a
sad.
problem
That's sad.
of keeping teachers, you know, consistently.
Well, another thing I think we do need to look at, and this is for the public, I guess, I'll get ahead of myself, but there will be a levy coming up at some point in time, but we don't have enough certified teachers, and they're trying to rectify that situation, or we're trying to rectify that situation. Fayette County pays more, Raleigh County pays more, Greenbrier County pays more, and they have those supplements. And we're losing some good teachers to our neighboring county. So there are certain things that we as a board, if we can find, you know, budgeting and stuff, that we may be able to address. But I don't know. I found this all very educating to myself. And if you don't, for the general public, if you don't get into their shoes and the teacher's shoes and what they're trying to do, I suggest that you get more involved in your education system, period.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you made a good point when you said those tests are not necessarily indicators of their classroom performance. Any more than a teacher has to take an exam in their field is an indicator of their classroom performance. I mean, there's a big difference. There's a big difference in who selects the items and what they refer to and which ones they emphasize. So the testing makes a difference.
Well, and there could have been a major blow up that morning at home, and they came to take that test, and that's what's on their mind instead of, there's lots of factors.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Ferguson makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. At 7:03.